My name is Ethan Hughes. I'm 38 years old and I'm living in Northeast Missouri at this moment in time. Yes, going way back. It started with my first issue of Thor at age 4 or 5. And I think Joseph Campbell talks about the hero of 1,000 faces, that every culture wants a hero. And so all I had in this 80s pop culture was a superhero that, without being paid, went out and saved the world. And that was the beginning of being transfixed by the myth of the hero. And it planted a seed that I wasn't aware of. And then, as time went on, started in high school, I worked at a public beach and there'd be 3,000 people, and at the end of the day there'd be trash everywhere. I'd try to motivate local kids to pick up the beach. And they'd all laugh at me, and another lifeguard, Bill Crowley, and I would go and pick up trash and write letters to the editor. And so I started putting on my beach towel as a cape and taking this colorful zinc and creating a superhero. And the kids started dressing up, and then convinced them the trash was the super villain, and all of a sudden we had 15 kids running across the beach picking up trash. And that's when, on some level, the click happened that, wow, they wouldn't just do this, but if I create a myth behind it, we're superheroes, we're jumping on the blowing trash, fear me trash, all of a sudden you have social activism. And that was the genesis. But as it changed, in college I was introduced to Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and so Captain America hitting someone in the head with his shield, there was a disconnect. So being raised in the Reagan era, I had this idea that a hero for me could be violent, the Hulk or Spider-Man. And so I had this disconnect. How do these come together, the superhero and nonviolence? And so that was a seed that sat in me for a while until I graduated college, and then started dressing up as a superhero for planned campaigns. The first one was food waste. I dressed up as Slop Man, and my partner was Compost Man, and we talked to thousands of school kids about not creating food waste because of the footprint. And they loved it. Schools couldn't get enough of it. And by the peak of that, there was a little band that would play, and we had a little slop copter that came by the window that was fake, and people loved it. And schools became zero food waste. Public schools of 500 kids would get an award, hand-drawn cartoon, if they had not 1 pound of food waste. And schools were doing it. And the superhero enabled them to not have environmentalism feel like, you've got to do this. It's like fun. The superhero's Compost Man can eat food waste and poop out soil. So he goes into the wasted taco bucket and is eating all the food that the kids have half eaten. And then he has a little flip and soil shoots out of his butt, so it had humor. And that was the next stage of the superheroes. And we used the superheroes at the WTO protest. We were the World Truth Organization. And the If Men, which protected the ocean, 2 invertebrates and a fish. And we found it was really useful, but there was something missing. And that's where the idea came, well, what's missing is Daredevil. That's my daughter making a little earthquake.
Okay, sorry.
Daredevil swings around the city looking for spontaneous service, not just we'll protect the ocean. So I proposed to some friends, let's go across the country as superheroes. And for 4 years, each year a few friends would sign up and they'd drop out. And so I tried from probably 95 to 99 to manifest a ride across the country dressed as superheroes with no plan except to serve, all volunteer. And then in 1999 I got the postcard that created superhero history. And a friend wrote to me and wrote, let's walk across the country and do service. And I knew he was one of those people who was really solid. So I wrote back and said, how about biking across the country dressed as superheroes? And he said yes. He was Silver Streak. I was the Blazing Echidna. I sent out a Xeroxed little zine to about 100 people. And the May 20th, the year 2000, 7 superheroes and a dog with a cape showed up in downtown Seattle to cross the United States, serving whoever we saw. We didn't know what was going to happen. We had $3,000 of funds to give to whoever needed it in our body labor. And it was Hugman, Velvet Revolution, Yankee Rose, Dragonfly, Silver Streak, Turquoise Seeker, and me, the Blazing Echidna, and Therapy Dog. And we were noon in costume. We did a superhero summoning to come to our highest selves, all created costumes on our bikes, and then at noon it started. And that's the genesis of how it came to be. The first ride was a total experiment. We didn't know how to be a traveling, self-contained superhero team. Own tents, hauling our own food, hunting gathering teams that got local organic food wherever we were. And the first 2 weeks was a bit of a disaster. Everyone left the ride except for me and Turquoise Seeker. We had storms coming. But the first day, just to give an example, something shifted the day we went to do service. When we became superheroes, all of a sudden we noticed a BMW going by with a flat tire. The moment we did the summoning. And we chased the BMW up the street, because it's serving anyone, despite social, economic. Chased the BMW. They thought we were a gang. They tried to speed off with a flat tire. Finally pulled over. He had the cell phone out. We're like, we're here to change the tire. It was a family from India, a mother, father, and daughter of Indian descent. And they popped the trunk. We pulled out the jack, and then we're like, you got to get out of the car so we can jack up the car. And they get out of the car, and they're kind of huddled. Within 3 minutes, we changed the tire, and it turns out it's his birthday. We're hugging them all. It's like, this is the best birthday present ever. And we went from strangers to full connection instantly. We went back to get on our bikes, and there was an old guy moving furniture for his daughter. So he helped to move furniture to the 3rd floor. Then we came back to our bikes, and there was a Japanese family that was lost in Seattle, downtown Seattle. And we wondered if we'd get out of the city. But just, I think an important point is, once we shifted our vision to service 24/7, we could see help everywhere. It was like the whole world changed instantly. Because if you have a mission in Seattle, you might be going to an interfaith prayer, and you walk right by the person who needs help. But we were just open to what was happening. And on that first ride, the jobs were so diverse, helping a homeless family find a place to stay for a month to get on their feet, all the way to a lost whitewater rafter that we were biking up Class 5 river, and all of a sudden we saw an overturned boat and a man screaming, and we're like, who's going to help him? And we look at our costumes, because it was dangerous. We're going down this cliff and searching up and down for his wife, who we found, and then directed around safely from our vantage point and told him we found her. And so it can be very thrilling sometimes. We helped nuns who are growing organic food for inner city people in Ohio. We did jobs, crazy jobs, like helping a youth group build a mobile composting toilet, which was for a competition in a town in Wyoming. It was a race to raise money. The kids were going to use it to give to kids to go to summer camp. So it was all over the spectrum, the kinds of jobs. Moving baseball bleachers, painting a sign in a town park, working for a radical collective like Mud in Missoula, trying to get permaculture out to the city, helping at a peace protest or a folk festival, but huge gambit. Outside of the service, we had ritual to ground us. In the morning, we had readings of the great, and someone reads an inspirational passage. We had the Dice of Destiny for fun. Everyone in the journal puts one fun activity they want to do with the group, and we roll the dice every morning. And if it's jump into a cold body of water, everyone has to do it, or climb a tree, and that keeps play in the day. We have thanking and sharing at night, which is a quiet time for people to either their emotional needs or a gratitude, and that closes our day. And we found these rituals really brought the group together. And we'd have, in the main ride, we had a boarding-in Christian riding next to a skate punk tattooed BMX loving each other. Because we were superheroes, we created a tribe where your identity before didn't matter. What your religious preference was. We ride with people who are corporate computer people, green geek, for example. But we all kind of, like the monk's robe, in a more comical way, or Dr. Seuss, strip down our identity and become our mythic self. A superhero that each person chooses for themselves and then makes their own costume in a Gandhian fashion. Which sometimes involves just going to a Salvation Army and finding some strange boots, and some people actually stitch their whole costume by hand. So that happens in the group during the day, some of those rituals, besides just service. And biking.